Hey guys, so today we are going to be making the Aeris A3 from KSP. Here's the KSP wiki for it. And the first step is to figure out some math. In particular, how much lift we expect, where the CG we expect to have, I guess really center of lift is where we expect that, and how much lift we expect. And then from there, we can start getting a ballpark of what our dimensions will be and things like that. Looking at the image of the plane, I haven't found any really good schematic looking images, but either way, it looks like the canard is about it takes two canard lengths to, make a wing length. So if we call this length of the canard right here 1 unit, then we can kind of just ballpark out all the other units of all the other dimensions, and it gives us these values, and then we can scale that one once we figure out how much wing area we need. So the motor I'm using is rated for 700 grams of thrust. Now, let's say, that's advertising and we can only really get 500 grams out of that. That still means about 17 ounces. And normally you want a half to one or, 2 to 1, 1 to 2 ratio. If your airplane weighs 16 ounces, then you want at least 8 ounces of thrust. So we should have double the amount of power to weight ratio that we need. So it looks like a pile of junk now, but basically everything's kind of revolves around this, no pun intended, this motor. And then we've got a fancy 80 amp ESC, which is double what the motor's going to need, so hopefully that means it'll stay cool. A bunch of connectors, everything, because nothing agrees with anything else right at the moment. I'm charging this battery. It's a 75C, almost 850 milliamp hour battery, transceiver, and then a box of metal servos. The motor weighs 2.7 ounces, battery weighs 3 ounces, ESC weighs 2.1 ounces, receiver weighs half an ounce, and 3 servos weigh 1.3 ounces. So if we give ourselves a little bit of headroom and go from our 12 ounces to 16 ounces, then we can estimate that we're going to need about a square foot of wing area to keep the plane afloat. So if we multiply everything by 5, we can go all the way down, and we get about 146 square inches, which is about 100, if we have 1 foot by 1 foot, that's 12 inches by 12 inches, that's 144 square inches, and so that'll be close enough. So here are all the electronics: servo, battery. We'll probably use a bit stronger battery in this one, motor, ESC, receiver, and so let's see that rotating this guy rotates both of these for the elevons, and then up and down is this guy. So binding of a controller to a receiver is pretty straightforward. You take out your bind plug or any plug, put it here at the end, and then while you're turning, and make sure it's got power and connected to the battery, all that stuff. And then while you're turning it on, hold this button and push the turn switch. So we cut out a bunch of pieces, the 20 inches long for the fuselage, and then stacked them together and glued in between so that they hold pretty well. Okay, so here is the main wing, roughly cut out, and what we'll probably do is cut out a piece of this right here, maybe like the first layer, and then that way the wing will just kind of fit right in.
My friend says my toss was bad, and that's possible. I'm used to throwing airplanes that are a lot lighter than this, and they just kind of climb out of my hand. This one did not. Um, I think so. Here's the engine or the motor, and I think this output diameter is okay, but the input diameter I was trying to fix by adding extra holes, and I think that's putting too much like effort on the machine's part, giving it too much effort, causing it to try to put out too much effort on the motor's part, and that meant that either the battery wasn't good enough or the ESC wasn't good enough. But either way, I don't think the motor was putting out its full power. This broke up, but that's easy to fix. Another issue is the canard. It's it's gonna be like the first thing that hits the ground. So I think if I just add like a spar carbon fiber just across it, I think that'll add a lot of durability to this plane. And then I think the easiest way to, two birds with one stone, fixing the air issue and the weight issue, is I'm thinking about just cleaving off like the upper half of the airplane, just all the way down. And then I guess maybe use some rubber bands to make sure the engine stays affixed. And honestly, I'm not even sure if I need to do anything past that, just cleaving that part. But if I do, if that's kind of feels wobbly, I can always add a carbon fiber rod down the middle, and that should give it more than enough stability.